Hi guys, Yolan here. Today I'll back from video. I'm going to play the table of 100 NL on Poker Stars. Let's dive into the action. Check free off, going to fold, and king queen off, and going to open. So that's it, simple video. Nothing else. I cannot anyway because YouTube is quite easy on the bounds, I would say. I'll start publishing bit more videos soon. I have a plenty video actually I can publish, especially the ones they played in in 5K now. I'll have a bunch of them actually. So let's dive into the action. A6 off, and I'm gonna check back. He free bet check on the flop. I think betting is fine. Just delay works quite well. In deciding I'm unfolding. I think the stronger two per region will often bet bigger. So like I'm gonna have a lot of liquidity on the river. A6 now. I'm gonna check back. And now with king queen, I'm going to A6. Obviously, I'm checking back. And he were against ace-3, and king queen now. I'm going to join the river and try to get called by something. Okay, he just folded. Yeah, I actually expect him, when he bets only half pot and ace, to have a weaker region. And if I expect people to have a weaker range and main position, I'm going to get money by basically bluffing them on the river on a lot of runouts, especially the one with flush draws. That's the reason why I call, even so like my powers are not that great. But because he's a small size, he's going to bet the river less here. But I'm going to use a6 off against Link from the button. I'm in Malta, by the way, for the Wasks. Just here for a couple of days. I'm meeting some people. A6 off here. So against recursion players, what I advise you to do is mix your flop sizing. Actually, depending on your hand, you need to have like 4 to 5 size. Because if you have kings, you want to size differently than aces. They want to size differently than pocket sevens. They want to size differently than pocket queens. They want to size differently than air, for example. It's a very weird size that he used, and he also attained for a while. I don't think kings use this setting that much. I don't think a pair will size this way, so I'm actually just gonna call here. It sounds like a bit wide, but I expect his weaker region to always give up. So I need to be good a third of the time. And he's like over bluffing here, I'm gonna make a lot of money. And as I said, I don't really think a king is bluffing this way. I'm gonna jam the river trade to make for something here. I think a king's mostly gonna bet, so I just want to make for a hand that I don't beat here. Can have like pocket pairs. I'm gonna run the ace high, and sometimes he's also gonna fold the king, which is gonna happen sometimes. Just check call pot again on king 8 use. Can be difficult for him to call. Hey guys, the soft crashed. So pocket 3 here. If you need to check on jack 10 deuce, I'm gonna bet the bigger size directly. I think my both check on this board, mostly gonna be on the weaker sides. There's like pocket 7, pocket 8, pocket 9s. Maybe a 10. And expect if he has ace jack, queens, kings, and aces that he's going to raise most of the time. I don't expect him to check all any like 10s and jacks. So like we're actually gonna have a good spot here to bluff. Jack 4 I open against the traditional player, and Jack 8 is also going to be an open. I expect most traditional players to fold too much. Maybe at this stack side they jump more, whatever. So I'm gonna mix between limp and raise all my small blinds. But basically, if a recreational player is playing from the big blind, I'm never going to fold my hand on the small blind for the reasons I explained. And I strongly advise you to do the same. Ace-5 of spades, 3 bets against UDG, he calls, extremely fast. It was a king, queen, jack. I advise you to basically bet a third, your entire range is working quite well. Okay, that's a original player. Wasn't expecting that. Same here. And this looks quite great actually at this hour. A7 of I'm going to fold. King 10 off here facing a small bet. It's gonna mix between raise and call. I'm gonna raise a small size. And my goal with this size is to let him call the weak region, check the turn and catch. And most of the time this is a ball where the range bets are definitely gonna overfold and you can over raise. And with a king, usually they overfold. It might not be that great to raise. Not gonna lie, but always great to be balanced, you know. But that's true that if they actually overfold, you don't have any instances to raise a king. Probably accept this stronger one still want to raise directly, but if he obviously bets. But against human also, I think be slightly better with call. That's calls anyway. 6-4, it's gonna be a call. Let's check. Should play half small on this board. Even big siding is not that bad. Like everything's fine here. King Jack 5. I'm going to check out of position and facing this size. My hand is just gonna be a call. Okay, I'm gonna fold the turn now. Okay, facing pots on the 8s. I don't have the best hand here to call with, but I'm not gonna fold top pair against a single pot bet here. And now on the river, we'll just check, I guess. I'll try to win against something. I mean, this guy is not gonna have any 5x. King Queen is betting before, so we ain't sure about what he has. He may have some King X that it's so weird. I think I'm just gonna jam actually. Because I don't see him having any full houses playing this way. And I think that his range is condensed toward ends like King, Queen, or that's all actually. And the thing is, he has like for me absolutely zero nuts. Set is betting on the flop. 8 is at least thinking about raising the turn. So just in case he has some like King, Queen, Ace, King that folds, check the flop. The same hand. I just want to jam. Because obviously I have EV the calling line, but I don't expect them to bluff, but I don't expect them to have a very strong region. So it's often a spot where jamming is gonna make more sense here. Then it's off. I'm going to isol. I'm isolating very wide against directional players, especially in videos, and especially if he showed me before that he opened, meaning his limping range is weaker. So if he doesn't limp, he raise, actually isolating close to all the time step of hand works really well. On the flop, I'm just gonna bet and triple barrel. Here he showed me on King Queen 3 that he leads, so I expect him to lead a high equity region. So when he's checking, I expect him to have only weaker hands. And so the free barrel is going to work quite well. I usually prefer, okay, I'm never gonna fold this side. And on the river, I'm probably gonna jam again. Depends on the timing. Yeah, I'm just gonna jam here. I don't think he has a very strong hand play this way. And I think I can put enough pressure by jamming here. And as we saw, like we need to link the notes we took. I didn't took a note, but you understand me on the last end and try to link the informations we have on this end. And on this end, he didn't think about it on the flop, so likely not a king. And after he's betting for small size, so his range is actually likely to be weak. And there is also something to understand is it's not something that exists in theory because in theory there is no discrepancies on the EV because you play against the same opponent, so the EV at the end is always the same. But here we can play against different opponents, and the opponent with the weaker region, he has way more combos, so the guy will only have value region because he's either gonna have a value or bluff. Only play this way because the line is very unintuitive. And so what is the case? The weight of the range of someone's having bluffs and weaker region is gonna be way more weighted in the sets or the partition of all the ranges possible. And so we want actually to jump more in this spot because it's more likely for me to be against a weaker hands than being against stronger hands. Simply because the range having the weaker region has way more combos, and so it's more weighted, and so I have more probabilities to be against one combos of all the smaller weighted region. And concepts called Bira. If you want to learn more about this, you can join my online course. It is not available yet. It's more going to be like a course mentoring, but anyway. Jack 10 of hearts here. I squeeze both guys call. This is not a very good spot to bet actually with Jack. We're going to isolate ourselves against a lot of better hands actually. So it's either a very small bet or a check. I think I just play better as a check here. Okay, king is very interesting now. I don't think they have queen 10 much. But my hand doesn't have that much incentives to bite it. So it's kind of a worse situation. I'm gonna check. And I think ace jack is betting often, so well I just maybe betting 5 blinds is actually better. Because I don't expect that many king jack, and you get value from like tens, 9x, or get full some pocket pairs. I think actually betting 5 blinds is better. And on the river, I'm just gonna bet a very small size and just try to value bet pocket eights, pocket sevens, pocket tens. But I should have bet the turn here. The check is a mistake on the turn. Should have found it. I just didn't think enough about it. And on the river, I think even my sizing is too big. I think like 6% pots working better. 6-7 here on a7-3. I'm going to bet for a small size. And he folded. It's the board where you can actually range bets. It's fine. Theoretically, you should mix bet and check. Like Putin against big blind is gonna be check at high frequency. Probably high frequency, like 30-40% check. And in TG, you're also gonna have some checks. Yeah. And it off 200 deeps against someone distributing freaks only and hesitating a lot pre-flop. I'm not folding this. I'm gonna have a lot of liquidity on a lot of flops simply because I expect his range to be slightly weaker than if he used a bigger size. And facing this size now, I don't expect any re-raise when I raise very big. And I allow myself to realize my equity quite well. So I think raising is better. I really don't expect him to re-raise because if he's in like jacks or even overpairs, well, overpairs is not that strong on this board. Plus, still like play with a big size. So I'm going to free bet ace jack here against the weaker player. It could bet smaller because against freaks open and just like that, we don't need to free bet that big. We want to free bet smaller, making call more and losing less when he forbets. And on the jacks now, I think I just have to give up, unfortunately. And well, I don't think he has a jack much now. I kind of want to jump. I think I can represent sins like sevens that checks, and I think he's mostly on the weaker side when he checks. So I'm actually gonna take the bluff here, but not sure he's going to go for that often. But I expect Jack X to at least think about it more. So his range is going to be either on the trappish plus weaker side, or he either only gonna have the weaker region because Jack is gonna bet or at least think about it. So I think jamming is the best option, even if it sounds scary. And when you can also like size pot or like a slightly overbet, but I expect when I pot like to make jam on X, I expect to when I jam, I actually expect him to fold with this type of folding. King jack off facing off pot, I'm gonna call. And ace five off. King jack off here facing a very small size. I actually don't really want to raise. It's kind of a trap to raise in this spot because if he has a really weak hand, he would have checked back, not bet small. And I don't really like bluffing spots against small. I don't think it's good. Especially on the ace. He's gonna bet the river, and I'm never gonna bluff here. It's just a better hand, I think, here. Ace king me to open. Icing off against this guy. I'm going to 4-bet. And I'm going to 4-bet the small size. He folds. King 10 off against small blinds. Gonna pot in the flop. I don't mind checking back also. I think you can do both. You obviously prefer to bet with a diamond, but that's close anyway. King just, I call the open from cutoff. Facing a small size. I'm going to call. I don't mind raising very small with King X, but I don't think they float enough here in position. Ace-9, gonna fold. And facing this size, my hand is going to be a call. I don't really like it, but I don't think in 100 now I can fold top pair on the turn here. 7-5, I'm gonna open against the virtual player. I'm probably gonna fold the river now. I don't expect enough bluffs. I don't mind raising too, actually. That's gonna be close. No, I'm not calling this size. My hand should be a call because the deuce isn't blocking many bluffs you can have. But at the same time, I don't know, I don't really feel like it. I think I will just ask him to show and fold. Yeah, just asking if you can show, but I don't think calling is a worth thing here. I don't know, it's so weird line. I don't expect people to size this way with king queen actually. I'm gonna fold. Yeah. Let's see what he has. Well, he said okay, but I don't think he showed anyway. I bet nines here. I'm gonna bet a spot here. Look at nines. I think a lot of people want to check here, but that's a mistakes. The way you need to play nines after betting the flop is betting very small. And when he has a flush, he's extremely often gonna raise or call in leads. So what you want to do is betting very small, getting called by the weaker region, and bluff the river because he's gonna make fold. He's gonna fold an ace extremely often. And hands like tens and jacks will also fold. So I think it's just the best line. And sometimes you're gonna have flush that calls, but most of the time going into this line helps you isolating the weaker region that will call fold, and you just don't get bluffed also. Because the problem is when I check the turn, he's gonna bet the river and bluff me, and I cannot call. Whereas if I go into this line, I can have extra fold equity compared to 30 because most people raise too much the flushes. So it's important not to play the intuitive way, as in my opinion, betting smaller is the best move here. Yeah, I'm not sure about king deuce. Some people will always have bluffs in this size specifically, and some will always have value, but I'm really not sure about that. I'm gonna 4-bet here, ace deuce suited, and pocket sixes now. This is a super funny hand. This is the exact same spot. This is so funny. Same story. You bet 3.21. You get called by all the pocket pair with hearts. You make 4 lanes that have equity. And on the river, you basically bluff. If a heart is coming, I'm probably going to bluff before small size. And if a heart is not coming, I'm probably going to jam. This is so rare. Like, I had the exact same spot back to back. Amazing. That's really cool. Yeah, so I'm not sure about a king deuce. So the way I advise you to play when you're not sure with king deuce is basically when you're not sure, fold, because in average when you're not sure, folding is the best option. But if you have reads that like in this specific opponent calling is better, then you're probably need to call. Yeah. Really not sure because the size is like it's a bit like interesting, you know, like I think people in values use small size. It really not an easy hand. I would have loved to see what he had, but nice hand. He made me fold king deuce. And the way I'm gonna think about it is I understand like hand like king 4, like king deuce is higher in calling in theory than if I have like king 10, for example. But the way I'm gonna think about it is, and related to blockers, what's the highest EV move? And the thing is they're gonna overbluff massively on the bluff. Like people are not or far away from balance, especially in these spots and with this size. Because this size is kind of not startled, right? And when they have multiple sizes, like overbet 3/4, they're gonna use the sizing that they think is the most correct one. So H5 I 3-bet his snap call pre-flop. I'm gonna talk a lot about timing tiles against fishes in the monitoring also. So you want to join the waiting list because you cannot take everybody for the first months, you can click the link in the description. I'll put the site for the type form, whatever. Ace 5, I'm gonna bet very small. And again, you need to have at least 5 sides against traditional players. Aces want to size differently than queens, want to size differently than ace king, want to size differently than ace 10, and wants to size differently than king queen, that wants to size differently than pocket 8. And the 5-6 off wants to 5-6 suited wants to check, for example. And the thing is, when your hand cannot bet twice, what you want to do on the turn, you want to check so that you let him bet and you get called by the weaker region. And now I'm just gonna call. I don't think raising is better here, so just calling. Unless he has king 10. Well, if I bet first can also bluff, but I expect slightly more bluff when I use the small size. I think I can also call more the weaker region. So I just wanted to get back to this hand, just a moment. I want to explain this flop size. So you have 5 region that wants to size differently. Okay. The first region. Oh yeah, very quickly. I hope it's not too laggy for you, but it should be okay. Yeah, so if you have aces, let me just play this end and after we could. So if you have aces wants to size very small. Not that small here actually because the board is not that dry. Queens unblock aces so it can size bigger. So this size bigger. Okay. But I don't know how to trip or catch anyway. I want to size differently than ace king. And ace 10 is not gonna have future value, ace 5-2. King queen wants to size differently and 5-5-2. So it's very important to always think about what is the best option against structural players and not blindly bet 1/3 because you have a lot of EV to gain into the flop sizing if you bet pots against structural players. Something I talk more about in the course and the 1/3. Anyway. Ace queen off facing 3-bet from the big blind. My range is going to be a call. I'm never going to 4-bet bluff against front players from the big blind. Because in my range is for mid stakes, low stakes. Most people actually under 3-bet line against early position. But as soon as you under 3-bet you off close to the since it's too far bet. Except as a play very tight. When I call ace queen here on the flop. I'm facing half pot now. I'm going to call again. And now on the river, I'm just gonna bet half pot and try to get called by a weaker hand. I don't think he has many king plus here, while he checks that fast. So that's interesting. Yeah, and the sizing on the turn was a bit weaker too. That's why I will have called the river if he bets again because I expect too much weaker holdings. King jack off. I'm going to 3-bet against the original player. You snap call. This is a perfect board to delay. You have no incentive to bet small here. You just want to get more information about what he has. So the way you want to play this board is just checking. And if you bluff you, then that's fine, whatever. We're going to save money against the a6 region. As most people always bet 6s, 9s, ace 9. But the thing is, against my strategy, to check more on this flop, because now I check way more of position if you bet pause than Terry as an exploit for some reason. And in this instance, he's not going to have enough strong hands. So I'm again going to check because now I just want to check raise in case he's betting with weaker holdings. And I know that when he checks again, now he has only weaker holdings. Weaker hands, he's going to have 6-7, 6-5 sometimes. It's going to happen. But I actually don't mind and I just want to size very big. So I can make for the queen X region, pocket 7, pocket 8, 9x. And it's going to work quite well. I don't think you need to jam here. I think you have close to the same amount of fold equity. He might have an a6 check back twice, but I expect him to at least think more on the flop or bet on the turn. So, yeah. That's actually funny. One guy say the biggest needs on poker stars is super funny. I hope he's going to see the usual bets, but anyway, I don't care. But I'm probably gonna check now on this board. And checking has more merits. I don't mind betting too. And on the turn, I'm gonna start bluffing against a king or a jack. I think my hand has some showdown value, but he's gonna fall way too much flop plus turn plus river when he checks the turn. So even if my hand has showdown value in the check, I think I have so much for liquidity that the EV of the bet would be higher than the EV of the check. But this is really funny he say that because I never play on Pocket Stars. Like I play like few hours a week to do videos, maximum, often 0s. That's cool. King Jack, I'm going too often. King 10, I'm going to open. Queen Jack of diamond, I'm gonna check back. I think I can do both. And on the turn, I'm gonna bet not for a big size. Kind of a 2.37. Or not 20. 2.37. Wait. 2.37. King 10, I'm gonna bet a blind on the flop on monotone balls. On monotones, you can, on like high monotone, you can range bet small. And on like low monotones, you can range check back. It's very close to the theoretical strategy and it works quite well. And against your strategy, villain should have a very passive turn strategy out of position. And it's not going to be the case most of the time. Jack 9, I'm always going to ISO, especially when he thinks limp. There could be some trap, but usually the limping region is weaker than the opening region. And ace queen off now, facing the optional player. I think it's a famous hand on 2+2 with King Young and Taisto not agreeing on what to do. So I'm gonna raise, but this is a very interesting spot. Like, is calling better than raising? Not sure. Really depends on the size and on the spots actually, but both can be okay as the solution. I'm going to bet on the turn. Okay, he thinks for a while and cold. Gonna bet the flop for half pot here. And just give up if he jumps. Sounds actually to work well. Kind of like kings and queens in this line. I just want to be like slightly more polar. I'm not expecting to jam ace king. So I'm fine with this size. But this is close to the sizing you used theoretically, so and on the king, I'm just gonna bet like very small now, like just 12, 14. I think 14 is fine. And trying to make full ends like way pocket 9, pocket 10s. I think it's very, very difficult for him now to see me on the bluff. So I expect to have a full equity on this range. And if he has aces or ace king, well, he's gonna call me whatever sizing I'm doing. So that's probably the best size. Okay, and on the river, I think I have to jam now. I don't block that many bluffs through the queen of spade. And he takes for a while, so like, he can have a king, but the bluff doesn't need to go for that often. And I think it's very tough for him when he has pocket 8, pocket 9. I'm gonna lose very often here when I jump, but okay, I had issues. That's really current with the tank pre-flop, or like not knowing if he needs to jump or not. So maybe the white can play is I will have bluffed my hand with I have close to also bluff and the queen of spade is not about to have. But I think the best way and the reason why I did a mistake on this hand is because I think it's not the best move, and I think the best move is checking the turn. Because when I check the turn and if he does the mistakes to bet aces, then I can just have a very easy fold because he's not gonna bluff much on the king. And when he is and when he's going to play only weekends in the check back, I'm gonna win by jamming the river. So like my hand is a mistake. So I should have never played this way. And just checking the turn is better usually. And on the river, it's for me like a completely fine jam. And he's still gonna have some like jacks, even queens, tens. It's going to be in trouble. And he can fall in like ace5 of spade. And he's also gonna fall 8-9 of spades. 5-4 can also be in his range. So I think it's fine. And the reason why you want to make fold these hands sounds weird because you beat them is because if you check, you have check folding 100%. So if you make fold ends that would have bet against you, then it's straight. Ace 4 I'm gonna fold, and Ace 5 facing raise. I'm just going to fold. So what I should have actually is exploitatively, don't have any bluff on the turn, and I'm just gonna win money against people that don't check back the right range. And if he checks back aces, then like, you know, I'm dead anyway, I'm gonna lose. But I guess that happens. 6-5, I'm going to 3-bet. I'm gonna squeeze here against two players. I really like to squeeze big siding in position simply because it's way tougher for out of position to make a move. And I mean, we'll play a bit deeper, so it's easier. But if we are 100 deeps, you know, what sizing is he doing? Raising 30 blinds? If you click, I have the odds with close to everything. This is not an easy spots, and I expect people to, in these spots, basically in the 4-bets, when you're going to squeeze in position with big sizing for a very aggressive range, with a very aggressive range. Wow, so weird. Okay. I'm gonna fold, I guess. People don't bluff here, but yeah, interesting. It's mostly gonna be jacks or queens or ace king. But I don't really want to call on the flop against this range. And absolutely nobody is gonna take ace jack as a bluff. I think it's gonna be close to 10 year I play. I think I never saw someone using this strategy with or maybe like some Rex, some fishes a while ago, but yeah. Ace 3 off, I'm going to EZO. Pocket queens, I'm going to raise, and I'm gonna raise 4x, I think it's fine. Let's dip. To 4-bet in this guy. He calls. I'm gonna check the flop here. And I'm just gonna fold. I'm gonna check a lot of these boards because if you have aces and I'm mostly betting a 10 on jack plus, I expect these hands to bet extremely often. So way more incentive to check raise against the population. Check 7, I'm gonna check. Check the flop. Okay, so I just spent my whole time folding now, actually. So it's gonna be the last 10. Hope you like the video. See you for the next one. And again, if you're interested to improve your online game with me, check the link in the description. See you for the next one. Bye.